On July 17, 1941, in the early weeks of the German invasion of the Soviet Union, a small village road near the town of Krichev in Belarus became the stage for an extraordinary act of resistance. One young soldier, armed with a single artillery gun, held back an entire German column. His name was Nikolai Vladimirovich Sirotinin. This is the story of one of the most dramatic and controversial legends of the Eastern Front. On June 22, 1941, Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest military invasion in history. Millions of soldiers from Nazi Germany crossed the borders of the Soviet Union, attacking along a massive front stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. The German army advanced rapidly. Entire Soviet divisions were encircled and destroyed. Cities fell in days. Bridges, railways, and roads became chaotic routes of retreat. Amid this catastrophe, the Red Army struggled desperately to slow the German advance. Sometimes entire units were sacrificed simply to buy a few hours of time. And sometimes it came down to a single soldier. Nikolai Vladimirovich Sirotinin was born in 1921 in the city of Oryol in western Russia. Like many young men of his generation, he grew up during a turbulent time in Soviet history. When Germany invaded in 1941, Sirotinin was only 19 years old. He served as an artilleryman in a Soviet rifle division. By July 1941, his unit was retreating through Belarus under constant pressure from advancing German forces. Near the town of Krichev, Soviet troops needed to withdraw across a small river. To make that possible, someone had to stay behind. According to the story recorded after the war, Sirotinin and his commander positioned a 76mm field gun near a bridge on a road used by German armored units. The location was ideal for an ambush. The gun was hidden among tall rye fields overlooking the road. From that position, they could see approaching vehicles, but remain almost invisible. When the first German tank appeared on the bridge, Sirotinin waited. He aimed carefully. Then he fired. The first shot destroyed the lead vehicle. The second shot hit another armored vehicle at the rear of the column. Suddenly, the entire German column was trapped. Confusion spread through the German ranks. The road was blocked in both directions. Vehicles could not maneuver. Then the artillery gun fired again, and again. One by one, tanks and armored cars were knocked out. German soldiers tried to locate the Soviet gun, but the tall rye fields concealed the firing position. Every time they moved forward, another shell struck. Sirotinin continued firing, shell after shell. According to later accounts, he destroyed multiple tanks and armored vehicles, halting the advance of an entire column for hours. Meanwhile, Soviet forces on the other side of the river were able to complete their withdrawal. Eventually, German troops managed to locate the source of the fire. They began to surround the position. By that time, Sirotinin's commander had reportedly been wounded and withdrawn, leaving the young gunner alone. But Sirotinin refused to abandon the gun. He continued firing until the ammunition ran out. When German soldiers finally approached the position, the lone artilleryman reportedly fought with a rifle. He was killed in the firefight. He was 19 years old. One of the most famous elements of the story comes from alleged German accounts. According to later Soviet sources, the German commander was so impressed by the bravery of the lone artilleryman that he ordered his soldiers to bury Sirotinin with military honors. German troops reportedly fired a salute at his grave. Whether this detail is fully accurate remains debated by historians, but the story quickly became a powerful symbol of courage and sacrifice. After the war, the story of Nikolai Sirotinin began appearing in Soviet newspapers and historical accounts. One of the earliest detailed versions was published in the Soviet magazine Ogonyok. The tale spread quickly. A single soldier holding off an entire armored column fit perfectly into the narrative of heroic resistance during the darkest days of the war. However, historians later noticed that some parts of the story were difficult to verify. German documents describing the exact incident have not been clearly identified, and the precise details of the battle remain uncertain.
Some researchers believe the story was partially mythologized over time. Others argue that a real battle did occur, but the numbers and details were exaggerated. This is not unusual. During the chaos of World War II, many acts of bravery were recorded imperfectly or reconstructed years later. The story of Sirotinin represents the experience of thousands of young soldiers who fought against overwhelming odds.
Today, Nikolai Sirotinin is remembered as a symbol of courage. A monument stands near the site of the battle outside Krichev. His name appears in museums, books, and documentaries about the Eastern Front. For many people in the former Soviet Union, he represents the spirit of those who stood their ground in the face of impossible odds. History often remembers great generals and massive battles, but sometimes the most powerful stories belong to individuals. A single soldier, a hidden gun, a quiet field of rye, and a road where an army was forced to stop. The story of Nikolai Vladimirovich Sirotinin reminds us that even in the largest war in human history, the courage of one person could still make a difference.